My name is Clay McLeod, and this Prezi is entitled Mindfulness and Engagement. It relates to a project that has resulted in a book called A Mindful Teaching Community, Possibilities for Teacher Professional Learning. The idea of engagement is key to both mindfulness practices and the art of teaching and learning. Both of these are most successful when there is a high level of engagement. Mindfulness is often defined as moment-to-moment awareness of what is happening here and now. It is an awareness of some aspect of the present moment, whether that is the process of breathing, some other sensation, or even thoughts and feelings arising in the present moment. It is often said that the practice of breathing allows one to unite the mind and the body. Teaching and learning, similarly, can be more meaningful and profound when the learner and the teacher are both engaged with the process of teaching and learning. The learner can be engaged with the construction of understanding and the development or improvement of their abilities. And similarly, to teach effectively, teachers must model engagement with the topic of study, and they must be engaged in their relationships with their students as people. The tightrope of mindfulness practice involves a tension between elements on one side that involve being more present and committed to this moment, and on the other side, not identifying with this moment and being able to let go of things that arise. So there's a tension between acknowledging what is actually happening in this moment and creating space around this moment. There's a tension between holding onto experience in order to look deeply into it and allow it to transform, but at the same time not identifying with that experience or holding onto it in a way that defines you as a person. And there's a tension between investigating quite deeply what is happening at the present moment, but at the same time being willing and ready to let it go. Bodhicitta is a concept that has a rich meaning. The term bodhi means both open and awake, and citta means heart and mind. So at the heart of this concept is the idea of having an open heart or being open to experience, not resisting or being averse to experience, not wanting something else to be so. And at the same time, having an open mind and not putting too much meaning and thought onto what's happening, but being open to actually investigating and observing what is actually happening in the moment. The idea or the practice of bodhicitta allows one to experience transformation or to more transformatively engage with experience when one walks that tightrope between holding experience and being open to it, but at the same time letting go of that experience and not identifying with it, while having an open heart and having an open mind. Thich Nhat Hanh often talks about the idea that without mud, there can be no lotus. And the idea here is that unwholesome states or states that we might perceive as suffering or unpleasant, when held and looked deeply into, they can be transformed into more wholesome or what we might view as positive states. So an example he often gives is the idea of holding onto your anger and looking deeply into it rather than acting on it, which will then allow you to see somewhere the causes and the origins of that anger and thereby transform it into another state, perhaps compassion or something like that, when you see where the anger is coming from and why you have become angry. In this way, transformation of negative mind and heart states can take place, and they can give rise to more wholesome, positive, and productive constructive mind and heart states. Another key concept is the interconnection of self and world. So as these inner practices lead to transformation of oneself, transformation of mind and heart states, tendencies and habits that one has oneself, one's interactions with the world can lead to transformation in and of the world around oneself. So the idea being that once you can change your habits and your patterns and your ways of behaving, speaking, acting, even your habits of thought, then you can start to interact with the world and with people around you in ways that can be more positive and productive for both yourself and people that you're interacting with and your environment. The paradox of diversity and commonality is something that we discovered when we were working together during our inquiry project. And we discovered that each of us saw mindfulness and practiced mindfulness, applied mindfulness in different ways that related to our own interests, challenges, passions, and practices in the schools where we worked. So some of us utilized mindfulness in order to enhance creativity. Others of us used mindfulness to address and work towards social justice. Others of us used mindfulness in a way that we were trying to cultivate peace and a lack of stress. And so we were struck by both the diversity, but also the things that unified us in terms of the open-heartedness and the care and kindness that seemed to represent or be represented by our various different ways of applying mindfulness. This idea is represented in this graphic of the tree of contemplative practices, which gives various different examples of how one can be mindful or contemplative in terms of both what their goal is and what their practice is in terms of trying to achieve that goal. And some of the artwork that was created by group members as we were working towards or through our process of sharing our ideas and investigating and learning about what mindfulness was to each of us. Some of that artwork is quite breathtaking, but also very meaningful. So the idea that we discovered or the concept that we discovered is that mindfulness can be quite personalized, or just like differentiated learning, mindfulness practices can be different things to different people, and different practices or different ways of applying these practices can be taught and shared with people who have different goals. So mindfulness practices can be tailored to meet different needs and to address different goals. Some of the examples that I have surrounded this image with are the idea of kindness, well-being, creativity, self-regulation, peace, making communication more effective, enhancing performance, decreasing stress, generating or cultivating empathy, working towards social justice, and increasing effectiveness in general. So in the end, it comes full circle around to the idea of engagement, because the more practice can be tailored to a particular person, the more that they are likely to be engaged with that practice, or to use that practice to engage with something that they're working on or learning about. And engagement is the key. So these are some of the people that worked on this project, and we are publishing a book soon called The Mindful Teaching Community, and thank you for listening.